steer, these eyes shining, and it had huge lats, huge biceps. I remember specifically when I noticed the legs, the quads on it. You could see, any bodybuilder's quads. You see the separation of the muscles and everything. You could see that. You could see, but it was so much bigger than any human being you have ever seen. And then what it did was it growled, but it was almost like a growl and a roar at the same time. And the way it came out is I've seen things over the years. We've heard about infrasound, about how tigers and lions, and they will use infrasound to stun prey. It can actually jiggle the insides and the organs, and that's what I felt, and that's what my buddies felt. I've seen recordings of actually crocodiles and alligators when they do their kind of growl in the water and water bounces off of. It was similar to that, but animal-like, like wolf-like, tiger-like, something of a combination of that. And it went through us all. I remember when it hit me, I felt it go through my chest. And the first thing I felt is I felt like I was going to go down on my knees, my legs from the hips all the way down to my ankles, my calves, everything felt so weak that when you have dreams when you're being chased by something and you can't run, that's what it felt like. But I couldn't move. I thought I was going to go down on both my knees. I was kind of bent over, but I was still looking at it. My other friend that was to my immediate right later told me that was what he felt similarly. Two of our other friends actually were completely bent over. One was dry heaving, said he felt like he was going to pass out. The other said he felt like he was going to throw up. Something's wrong. What's going on? And it takes a couple steps towards us. And I think the steps of it, moving towards us and how far it moved after it took two steps towards us snapped everybody back into reality. And I remember my buddy right over my left shoulder who had noticed it first, he turned and ran into the building, and we followed suit, not quickly, as fast as we could. And we just headed up the stairs. We ran to the third floor. I don't know why we went to the third floor. We just did. There was really no way out of there, and I need to explain that too. So going up to the fourth floor, you would be stuck on the fourth floor. You could go out to the roof area. There was a short set of stairs that would take you to the roof. On the outside from the third floor was the fire escape. The fire escape only went from the third floor up to the roof because the second floor on down had broken away and fallen down and was laying in a heap on the ground. All of the stairs were all twisted up in metal and everything. And so we really had nowhere to go. We were standing on the third floor, and my one friend who had noticed it first was going.
Teammate, I need your support.
Basically postal. He starts losing it. He starts crying and screaming. And I remember, I'll always remember this. I was always a big kid, and I grabbed him out of fear. And I'm starting to sweat right now because I'm thinking about this. And it always brings me back. I grabbed him, and I put my hand around his mouth, and I grabbed him so hard that I lifted him up the floor. His feet were hanging, and he still, muffled screams, and we all are screaming at him. You got to shut up. It's going to come in here. It's going to hear you. You have to be quiet. I was using choice words, of course. Finally, he started, gasping for air, and I put him down, and, I looked at him, and we'll let you go. Are you going to be quiet? He let him go, and just as we let him go, he takes a deep breath. You hear a thump. The building vibrates, and then you hear the telltale sign of basically nails on concrete. And we all knew what that meant. I knew immediately it was coming in the building. So we're standing, this half wall is in front of us. We're looking down, and all of a sudden, we have this huge fire. It starts to come in, and you got that kind of train effect of, when is the train going to end? That's a long train. Well,
Yeah.
this thing's coming in and it goes past this makeshift wall that we had created. And the first thing we noticed first was the shadow that hit the wall. Now, anybody walking by a fire, even if you're small, you're going to get a big shadow that gets thrown. So imagine something so big that it looks fake. And that's what we're looking at. It's shadow. So the shadow just overtook the entire wall. There really was no shape or form on the wall. It was just black. And then we see the head come in, then the shoulders and the rest of it, and the tail. And as it's walking in, you could see, you know, that like when tigers or big cats walk, you get the scapulas that pop up, you know, in the back. And you're seeing the bones lifting, but they were surrounded by so much muscle that you could see it rippling as it walked. And it's looking around and it's sniffing the air. It's obviously looking for us, and we're all trying to be as quiet as we can, just frozen in place. And, you know, when it got near the fire, you could start to see that it had saliva just pouring out of its mouth. I'm not talking just dripping. I'm talking like the sound of like when you're in an empty building or something and it's raining and you're hearing big drops hitting. The saliva's hitting the concrete as it's walking, and that's a sign that, you know, said
Sure it
to
was,
me
bro.
immediately,
Sure it was.
you know,
You heard
it's
saliva hitting
either
the
going to
concrete.
feed or kill,
Yeah, all right.
and that's why it's salivating, and it bares
Why
its
your
teeth
homies
every
ain't having
once in
this
a while, and you
conversation
get
with
the
you, bro?
glint
Where
of
your
this
other homies
white,
that seen this shit?
and you see the teeth when even when its
Fuck
mouth
that,
was closed, the top canines were hanging out. And you would get little glimpses of the
Lying like a
bottom
motherfucker,
ones
bro.
here
You
that
got
would
chased by
show.
a werewolf
So
gang
its
and
teeth
survived?
definitely hung out
As a
of its
kid?
mouth, even when it wasn't baring
alright.
the teeth. And it walked by
Okay,
the
bro.
fire, and you could see immediately jet black, except for I thought that it
Alright,
was maybe a reflection of the fire, but we all agreed later that it had a very light white stripe that went from the back of its neck all the way down to the tail. And that was the only other color that this thing showed other than the eyes. You know, you always hear stories about people that see dogmen in the woods during the day, and they talk about the different colored eyes and, you know, blue to black to brown. I don't know what this thing's true eye color was. All we could see was this orange amber color, just literally causing things to light up wherever it looked. So it wasn't eye shine. It was something internal coming out of this thing. And then another thing that really has brought me into believing that these are more than a natural creature, and that there is something supernatural going on, is when it walked by the fire and its front hands, paws, whatever you want to call them, had touched the ground near the fire. Something happened where it only happened with its front left hand, or whatever you want to call it. It basically blinked out. It cloaked for a second. And you could see they see things through it, almost like that predator effect. And when it put its hand down by the fire, something really strange happened aside from the cloak effect. If you've ever seen video of the sun and the magnetic anomalies and storms that they have on the surface of the sun, where you see, you know, the you know, tubes come out of it and the different shapes and magnetic storms, basically that happened right around its cloaked out paw, and it only happened for about 2-3 seconds, enough that I noticed it and my other buddy noticed it. The other two did not. They were at a different angle, and it had basically just looked around the room. It bared its teeth after it sniffed, and it snapped its head and looked right up at us. It knew exactly where we were. It finally caught our scent, and it looked at us, and it looked up at us, and it bared its teeth, and it growled again, and you felt a vibration. But I truly believe that this half concrete wall that we had in front of us had, if it threw that infrasound at us again, I think that half concrete wall blocked it, because we didn't get sick or felt funny or anything. We felt a little vibration, You felt it. Like, I remember I had I think it was my right hand on the top of the wall at that time, and I felt a little vibration in it, but didn't get sick or anything. So I truly believe that that wall blocked whatever because of the angle of it being down on the first floor, us being on the third, and it threw it at us. I truly think it did. And then it stood up again, and it was almost like, um, like a comic book pose. It threw its arms out to its sides, and its muscles all clenched, and it looked at us and it growled, and it looked out to the left, it looked to the right, and it saw the stairs on the wall, and it looked back at us, and I got a sinking feeling in my stomach because I knew what it was going to do. It dropped back down on all four, and it ran for the stairs. And, like I had told you, it was missing 4 stairs. So we had to kind of hop over and climb the wall to get up. And it jumped over that like it wasn't even there. And it was heading.
Can't believe we're halfway through senior year. I'm gonna go to college having never had a girlfriend.
Hey, what about Erin? She's single.
Never happened. She doesn't date dorks.
Hey, you never know. Maybe she's sick of guys with lots of confidence and chiseled jaws.
You're an adult now. That means responsibility. Teddy, what happened?
Next time you start that thing, knock first.
Hey, I can't buy my underwear. Well, what do you want us to do? Get back here!
Run, Johnny! Oh, jeez.
This sucks. Insane loser I was the day I walked in here.
That's what growing up's all about. Making mistakes and letting your mother fix it.
Up, very fluid. Its tail, I remember when it ran, you could tell it utilized it kind of like a rudder. So it was kind of moving when it moved, its tail kind of bent certain ways. Its tail reminded me of a mountain lion or a cougar. Very non-hairy, short hair, very thick. I remember the bones in its legs and its arms being just gigantically thick. And again, that sense of not only are we looking at something that's not supposed to exist, the size again is just so massive, it has to be fake. And again, this is really happening. And when it had stood up, I forgot to mention this, it had stood up near one of those concrete pillars that I had mentioned the building had in all 4 corners. And we had gone back years later. We never went back for years. And we got an idea of how big these pillars were, which gave us an idea of the size estimation of this animal. And when it stood up, it basically width-wise blocked out the pillar. So it was as wide as the pillar, 4 to 5 feet across. And height-wise, the ceilings were probably where, at the sides where there was floor above. It was probably 15 to 18 feet high. I would guesstimate, and my friends guesstimated, it was somewhere between 10 to 12 feet tall. So it stood up, its ears probably were at least 12 feet at the tip. And again, I've heard people describe sizes of Sasquatch and other cryptids of massive size. And, people will, well, you were kids. Well, we went back as adults. And I'm telling you, we remembered where it stood and it had to be minimum 10 feet. I truly think, again, tips of the ears, 11, 12 feet tall. Now it's heading up the stairs towards us. 2 of my friends are going absolutely ape crap crazy. Running. One is running in circles. The one that I had to grab his mouth. He's screaming bloody murder in circles, just running in circles, going nowhere. And he finally jets for the stairs to take him up to the 4th floor. My other friend runs for the fire escape. Again, you can't go down. So only way is up. And I'm frozen, petrified. My other friend is standing next to me. He just said, I was standing next to you. I didn't know what to do. And it made its way from the 1st to the 2nd floor in seconds. And then it started to head up from the 2nd floor to the 3rd. And where I was standing, if anybody would have, this thing or anyone would have walked up to the top of the stairs, the first thing it would have met would have been me. And it would have came within 2 feet of me once it got to the top of the stairs. it got to the middle of the stairs and I started having true belief that this is the day that I'm going to die. I started to think about my family. I thought about my dog, who I loved very much. I thought about, I was getting ready to go into high school to play football at the school, Ursuline High School, a Catholic school.
Bro said he thought about his dog.
Very big in the
Bro said he thought about his dog. You have a werewolf coming at you, and you're thinking, all right.
Sports and athletics as well as academics. Right. And my dad had played there. My whole family had gone there. I was very proud that I was going to be playing football there. And I thought, I'm not going to get to play. All this is going through my head. It's all gone. And we're going to watch each one of us truly be mauled and killed by this creature. And this is the end. I really believe this was the day I was going to die. And it was probably within 6 to 7 feet from me when I looked at it, and it was looking right at me or at my friend. I think it was looking at me because he was behind me, and I would have been, like, again, the first one it got to. And right at that moment, I will always believe this to the day I die, and the sweat's starting again.
You can make serious money streaming with Rumble Studio. Here's how. Start earning on day.
I believe there was divine intervention. I truly believe it. I'm Catholic. I'm not a great Catholic. I don't go to church a lot. I don't practice as much as I should. But I think that there was divine intervention, because once it hit that 6, 7 feet mark from me, where if it would have jumped, it would have been on me. We heard that a train. And whenever a train would come by, we would always get nervous, because if they'd see, us in there or the light from a fire, we'd be in big trouble. They would call the police or whoever, and we'd be in trouble. And we had never, ever had a train go by where they laid on the horn. And it came by, and as soon as it went by the building, be it from the angle the guy that was driving it saw the inside, what was going on, or he just saw the fire, which I seem to think he noticed how bright of a fire we had going in there. He laid on this horn, and this thing stopped right 6 to 7 feet from me, and it looked at me, and it looked back at the opening where you could see the train going by, and we're all screaming bloody murder. Somebody help us, please save us. My other 2 friends are gone. They had, one went up to the roof, the other ran up the stairs. I don't know where he was. My friend and I were screaming, someone help us. And it looked back at us, and it looked back again, and it turned around and started running down. And it took literally, I would say, 1 to 1.5 seconds to get from where it stood 6 to 7 feet from me at the 3/4 mark of that 2nd to 3rd floor step area to the steps of the going from the 2nd to the 1st. And then something else supernatural happened, where you stopped seeing movement of joints and the tail, and it just was a black streak that left the building. And it wasn't just from how fast it was. It had basically gone from physical creature to almost shadow. And it just was just a black mass had just left the building, and it was gone. And I'll always remember that. And as through the years, the things I've been learning, hearing about shadow people and people, very similar things that I saw and we saw when it did that. And we're screaming, and the train just is, ka-clonk, ka-clonk, ka-clonk. And it starts, we're thinking it's slowing down, but it wasn't. And it starts getting farther and farther away. And then the hope of we're going to be saved is slowly leaving us. And then it's gone. And then the fear sets back in that this thing's going to turn around, and it's going to come back in, and it's going to kill us. And by that time, my other 2 friends had come back down because they heard the train, and they heard us screaming help. And I think that they thought that, everything was going to be all right, and people were coming for us, and they almost, my one buddy almost had kind of almost a half smile on his face, and when we all looked at each other, everybody was pale white and just so weak from the experience already that I wanted to curl up in a ball and just lay there. And the fear set back in. It's going to come back in. And an hour goes by and we're still up there, and it didn't. And then we start talking to each other, it's after 10 o'clock. We have to get out of here because this thing's going to eventually come back. And my friend that had lost it and that we had to shut up is totally postal, crying, screaming, I just want to go home. I want my mom and dad. Please, God, help us. And we're trying to calm him down, and he won't. And we're like, listen, we have to go. He's like, no, we can't go out there. It's going to be waiting for us. It's going to be there. And we all thought that. But then again, the fear of, as each minute clicks by, we're giving this thing the opportunity, if it did run away, to come back and see if we're still there, or it knows we're still there. It's outside just watching. And we kept looking at the space between this makeshift wall and the opening of the building where there was concrete, looking for those orange eyes shining out there, and we couldn't see them. And it was hard to see, but if it was looking at us, it was so bright, we would have saw it. And so we finally decided, okay, we have to at least go down to the second floor. And my friend is just going crazy, and we're dragging him with us. We pull him down the second floor, and we're probably up there for maybe half an hour. And then we go down to the first, and we say, we have to make a run for it. We have to go. We have to go now. It's almost 11 o'clock at night. We're in an old steel mill in downtown Youngstown. I mean, this is not where you want to be, even if there's not a mythological creature trying to hunt you down and kill you. So we're like, we have to get out of here. And we just remembered then, I remember thinking, oh my God, we have weapons. But I'm telling you, Josh, there is no way on God's green earth that if, even with me having a 38,
I'm Sora 2, the new AI in town.
We're not afraid.
On me, that it would have done nothing but anger this thing. I thank God we didn't ever pull them out or shoot at it or anything. I don't think we could have even hit it. Number one, we were so horrified. Number two, it would have done nothing. It would have just pissed it off, and it would have mauled us even worse. So we start to leave. We have to go. I am sweating. I'm sorry. Surprised I haven't cried yet. I usually break a little bit.
Oh, dude, your story's woo.
It's
affecting me, man. I'm all choked up. Go ahead, go. Keep going.
Finally, we start to leave, and my friend is screaming bloody murder. Please don't let us go out there. It's going to kill us. Finally, I grabbed him, and I'm sorry I have to use my language. I grabbed him. I said, listen to me. I said, you are going to come with us, or we're going to leave you here to die. You are going to come with us, or it's going to come in here and it will kill you, and you will be here alone. We will leave you here. You either come with us now or you will stay. And he's screaming, don't leave me, don't leave me. So finally, we turned around, me and my friend. We took his hand, and he grabbed both of our shirts, and he's strangling us, pulling on our shirts, and we had to literally pull him out of the building to get out there. We get out to the concrete outcropping, and the fear sets in also, because what I had forgotten to mention was when you climb up, you could look underneath, and it would go way back into the building. So it was very, very reasonable to think that this thing was underneath, waiting for us to drop, and then it would be over, and no one would hear us. It could maul each of us, take its time. No one would have ever heard us. And even if they heard screams in the downtown area or up by the highway, no one would know where they were coming from. So we jump down and we start taking off, and we're going as fast as we can. My buddy's choking us to death. Finally, we get him to the point where he's running on his own, and we're all running together, almost arm in arm together in a straight line. And it takes a half an hour to get to my friend's house from that blast furnace. So that's a half an hour of complete and utter terrorizing fear that we were in, with every noise, every pebble one of us kicked, every time the wind would pick up and leaves would blow, we would think it was there, it was behind us, it was chasing us. We'd turn around and stop and look around. We finally got to...
I don't know, bro, if it's cap, bro, but I'm just enjoying the show. You feel me? The nigga got a TV stand behind him with no TV. So he just weird anyway. What the fuck is the TV stand up here for with no TV on it? I'm just saying. His blinds look like he don't be checking out them bitches either, right? You scared, you looking out these bitches all the time, right? Something gonna be fucked up. I'm just saying, man.
The last portion of where we could get out of this area. And what it was a hill, literal hill of gravel and just material that going down was easy. You could turn your feet to the side, standing up, and just walk yourself down slowly. Going up, you had to go up on all fours. And we would always laugh at each other. We would always, make fun of whoever was the first that would start sliding down, because we would always lose our foot. It would always go out from under us, and it would take us longer, and it was exhausting to get up, having this gravel coming out from under your hands and feet. So now we're crawling up this pile of gravel, this huge mountain of gravel, and each one of us at different times, because we're trying to go as fast as we can, start to slide down, and the fear sets in that it's behind us, it's going to get us. And numerous times, each one of us screamed, "Is it behind me? Is it behind me?" And you turn around and you look, and it wouldn't be there. You'd expect to see it. We finally got up there. Me and my one buddy made it first, and we helped our other friends. We pulled them up, and we ran across.
Awaken to a world of wonder. And Final Fantasy 14 online.
Across the highway, and we went over the fence and across the street and to my buddy's house that lived across, and his parents weren't home. And I remember, this just always sticks out to me. He had a hose, and I remember turning the hose on, and I just drank and drank and drank until my stomach felt like it was going to pop. And I just poured it all over my head, and each one of us did the same thing. And when we just sat on the porch and on the stairs, my other buddy was in the front yard, and each one of us in a complete and utter daze, not talking for at least an hour at least, staring across out towards where we had come from. We couldn't see the area, obviously, it was so far, but we're just staring, just in shock, in disbelief. My one friend who had lost it, he didn't talk for 2 weeks. He had to go start seeing a psychiatrist. I had major problems. I started to go, I'm half Lebanese. We belong to St. Maron's Church. If you're from the Youngstown area, you know it. It's a church there that Lebanese go to. And I went there and I talked to the priest there, and I told him about what happened, and I expected, the priest did not believe me or say anything, and he believed me immediately. And he had told me, "Matthew," he said, "you need to understand something. First and foremost," he said, "God saved your lives." He said, "I believe there was divine intervention." And he said, "Secondly, you need to understand that there are things in this world that most people have no clue about, any idea." And he mentioned exorcisms specifically. And he said, "There are demons in this world. In the church, it is well known, you go all the way to Italy and Rome, and they teach, they have their top-notch exorcists that go all over the world for the most horrible demon exorcisms." And he mentioned maybe it was a demon or something, but he had given the impression and that he knew what it was, and he was not surprised at all that we saw something like this. And, the priest had said, sometimes these things bleed into our world, and they take some of us. And some of us are lucky enough to get away, or they just don't bother us. And he said, but there are a long-standing history of things that aren't supposed to existing in this world. And he said, "I believe you." And I cried. I broke down, and it wasn't You know, why would a child go to a priest and make up a story like that? And, you know, we had talked about, obviously, the situation of us having to address this.
You wasn't
with
a
our
child,
families.
gang. You were 14 and
And
were
we all
carrying
agreed,
guns, bro.
there's
Like,
four
what
of
are you
us.
talking about?
We
You
would
were a
always
child.
be
You were
with each
14
other when
years old.
we.
You were carrying guns. You were sneaking into buildings you wasn't supposed to go in. You wasn't no fucking child, dog. Like, what are you talking about? Why would you make this story up as a child? What do you mean? Why would you even say that? Like, you're 14, you're breaking into your dad's, you're going into your dad's closet, stealing his gun with your homies, y'all going to set shit on fire, and now you a child? Come on, man.
Spoke to our parents
Come on, man.
together so that we could be there to back each other up. Well, two of my buddies' parents had you guys are full of crap. They didn't want to hear it. Just get out of here. Go do what you're going to do. My parents, my mom walked out of the room. You're crazy. She didn't want to hear it. My dad, however, knew me and looked at me and said, well, you know, maybe you guys saw a bear. Maybe it was a bear with mange, or maybe it was, you know, some mutated creature, you know, normal animal, a bear. He kept saying bear because we kept telling him how big it was and what would you compare it to? You know, we talked about a polar bear. It was as big as a polar bear, but it didn't look like a polar bear. It looked like a wolf. It looked like a man-shaped wolf, but it was giant. And he just kept saying, well, you guys saw something, you know, they're 14-year-old kids. They saw, you know, something natural. They just don't know what it is. Then my best friend's dad, who I'm not going to out him, he's passed away. So I'm not going to out him and his family because I'm very close to them. But all I'm going to say is, and any of my friends that see this, they know who I'm talking about and what his dad did. He basically was in charge of the city. He was in charge of the police and many other parts of it. And we told him, his mom did the same thing mine did. She just said, you guys are crazy. You saw a big dog or whatever. And she left the room and she didn't want to hear it. And his dad, however, got very upset. And he gave us the impression that he knew what we were talking about. And he first and foremost went off on us and said, you know, choice words, what the hell are you guys doing down there? You could get killed down there. The place is falling apart. He said people put bodies down there. There was a couple homeless people that were mauled by packs of dogs down there, and he brought that up, which makes me wonder, was it really a pack of dogs that mauled these two homeless men? Was it? I don't know. I don't know. After seeing what I saw and we saw, I can't guarantee it. But he didn't want to talk about it anymore. He warned us, if you ever go back.
See, that's something that can add some kind of truth to what he's saying, though, right? Like, you got homeless people that's getting mauled down here. Somebody that is not a city official, but a powerful person in this town. You know what I'm saying? From what he's saying, you know. He telling y'all that people done got fucked up down there and y'all down there playing, right? That I can see how that can go with it. He possibly did see something. You feel me? He possibly did see some crazy shit. You feel me? Because for dude to say that, right? And it's like, you involved with the police, you involved with the politicians there, and you already know about people getting bodies getting hid there and all this shit. Because this now at this point, this ain't rumors, right? This is facts, because this dude is somebody who's a part of that world, like police and politicians and the things that's going on in the city. So I don't know, bro.
Back down there. He said, I promise you, I will put you in JJC. He said, you will not play football at Ursuline, Matt. He looked at me right. He said, you think that you'll play? He says, your coach will never allow you to play. He'll think you're crazy. He said, you guys will go, and you'll go to the city school, which is Ryan High School. He said, you won't go to Ursuline. You won't go to that school. You'll go to the city school, and you guys will be made fun of the rest of your lives, and you'll be the joke of Youngstown. And he called my father, and I'm going to say something here. My older sister, I told her about this recently. My parents are gone, and I've never really told anybody in my family about this other than my dad, because of what happened when my dad was called to my friend's house. And my sister and I got into it. This was just recently. And she looked at me, she said, what are you talking about? She goes, what do you mean? She goes, how did we never hear about this? She says, why didn't mom or dad tell us about this? What are you, you know, she was denying that I'm telling the truth. I'm looking at her, you know, I'm a 50-year-old man. You think I'm going to lie to you? You're my sister. What are you, Chris? So we got into it. And I'm being honest about this. And if she hears it, she can admit it. We got into it. And I was very upset about this. But the reason I didn't talk about it, especially, and I'm sure my younger brother, who's only a year younger than me, is not going to be happy about this when he finds out, because we were best friends growing up. We were inseparable. But when my best friend's dad called my father to come, he sat us down and he talked to my dad. My dad's name was Ken. And he said, Ken, he said, you know the situation here. He said, if these boys go around talking about it, number one, all their classmates are going to go down there. Somebody's going to get killed just from getting hurt from the buildings and everything. He said, secondly, he said, your son is going to be the joke of his school. He won't play ball. And he looked at me and he had this look of, oh man. And he said, you have to promise me that you make your son not talk about this. He doesn't tell his siblings about this. You don't talk to your wife about this. And he pulled my dad aside and they went in the kitchen and they talked. And when I went home, my dad kept looking at me my dad and I were super ultra close. We called each other best buddy. We were close. All of the kids, 5 kids in my family, we all had special relationships with my parents, but me and my dad had the closest. And he kept looking at me with this just fear in his face that I kept telling him, I'm crying hysterically, Dad, you have to believe me. This is what we saw. And he kept looking at me like, Jesus, you know, I think he's telling the truth. And after what my friend's dad said to him is when he really got scared. And he said, you can't tell your sisters and brothers about this. Don't talk about it with my younger brother. He kept saying, don't tell him, because we were inseparable. He said, you can't tell him. He said, he's not going to be able to sleep. You're going to cause problems. So he put the fear of God in me, and so did my buddy's dad. A week later, my best friend tells me he finally got his dad to sit down with him and talk, and he said he knows what it is.
That's crazy. Get this commercial out real quick.
He said he told him that.
Now that's crazy. He sat down and talked to somebody that said they know what it is. And that's what, like, that's what I was saying the first time when I was saying, like, it's starting to be like when you run into certain adults and conversating with certain adults, right? Like they're bro, nobody's coming to somebody saying, oh, I just seen a werewolf and it just chased us. And you wouldn't believe that, bro, because how the fuck you outrun a werewolf? You know what I mean? Like, you ain't outrun no werewolf, gang. So no, nobody would believe that, right? But when he's coming around these older people in this town that been in this town longer than him, right? Because he's only 14 at this time, right? Like, and these are elders, so they've been in this town. Like, and he comes to his dad. His dad is like just a regular guy, like type shit. He might be known in the neighborhood shit, but he a regular guy, right? But when he takes it to a priest, somebody who talked to damn near all the people of that town, right? He kind of believes him because he's probably heard the story before, right? Then when he takes it to this kid's dad, who's like in tune with the cops and in tune with the politicians in the town, and like the mayors and shit like that, he gets upset and say, y'all could have got killed and people hide bodies there, and it's homeless people who got manged there. Like, yeah, those homeless people that got manged could have got manged by the same thing that was chasing them, right? But the crazy part is, it's hard to believe, because how did y'all escape? You feel me?
His officers had gotten calls about these things. He had 2 officers that had seen it and that he knows all about it. And he gave him the implication that it at least had killed one of those 2 people that had been mauled in the downtown steel mill area.
What I just say? Because a pack of dogs I don't know, bro. You feel me? I ain't never heard like a pack of dogs killing an adult like that. It probably happened, right? But it be like pit bulls and shit like that. I ain't never seen like a pack of dogs that just run around like dogs that run around neighborhoods like attack nobody. You feel me? I've never heard that. Like just a regular pack of scrungly ass homeless dogs, right? I'm saying homeless because they don't got no crib. You feel me? No home, right? And I ain't never seen them attack nobody though. You feel me? So it's just like, then you got homeless people that's getting fucked up, and this thing, they said they seen the thing fuck up a pack of dogs, tried to run up on it and it fucked them up. It's like, hey man,
area that were homeless people living in that area. He said he basically told me that he knew everything about it. Don't ever go back down there. You guys are lucky to be alive. And we just were like, whoa, finally somebody is giving us credence and believing us. And I felt this sense of, oh my God, we're not crazy. We didn't see a bear. We're not just little kids that don't know what's going on. This is real and this is crazy. So, you know, over the years, I've learned, obviously been just completely just stuck on what happened. I think about it every day. And the older I've gotten, the more I've gotten more involved in the cryptid community. I met you, I met Josh Turner and Barton Nunley, and you know, I've talked to other people like Wes Germer and Tony Merkel, and you know, these guys all making the same face that you're making right now, a little pale with your hand over your mouth. And you know, this is not, anybody can believe what they want. And I'm talking to anybody watching this right now. I'm looking at you right now. You can believe whatever you want. You can think that this is entertainment, because in the end of the day, this channel's for entertainment. But let me tell you something. I will go to my grave. I'm giving you pertinent, personal information about myself and where I live and my family and the schools I went to and the area I grew up into. This happened. This was real. I have no reason to make myself look like a crazy person or just somebody looking for attention. This really happened. You can think I'm crazy if you want, but let me tell you something. You look at all of the instances of people are having more and more experiences these days, and because of media, we're hearing more about them, and you're getting more information out than ever. There's stuff going on. And I've heard some experiencers out there that it's cringeworthy and it's obvious they're making it up. But I've heard stuff over the years, especially the last couple years. And when I talked to Josh Turner at Paranormal Roundtable, and he told me about his experience and what him and his cousin saw, it was almost exactly what I saw. And I had never met him before. I had never talked to Josh before until I told my experience. And I got the fear of God in me again. And right now I'm nervous. I have anxiety in my chest. I'm sweating. My shirt's starting to show it. I keep wiping sweat from me. I usually crack a tear or two. I'm surprised I haven't. There are things out there that people don't want to believe are real. There are. And I'm not trying to scare anybody. I'm just telling you this is what happened. If there was one person you can question, there were 4 of us. 4 of us, okay? 4. We all talked about it for years. 2 of my friends are gone. God rest their souls. And they had issues for years, and they started doing other things that ended their lives prematurely that I believe was because of what happened to us. My other friend refuses to discuss it. He has a very successful business. He thanks me all the time whenever we talk that I have the guts to talk about this. He's afraid to talk about it. He to this day has severe PTSD and doesn't even like to discuss it more than.
Ooh, we got that reggaeton. Today, we're gonna be making beats you guys send me, okay? So let's go.
Shinji, please do my beat.
Bro, is that your homework? Yo, I see low-key.
5 minutes. It really happened. I don't know what else to say. I'm not going to make a fool of myself, in front of thousands of people, because a lot of people are going to see this. And I've done other shows, and people have seen it. There's no reason for me to lie. And anybody that knows me personally that will see this, you know who I am. I'm not a liar. I'm not a crazy person. I'm not somebody that makes up fantastical stories. This happened, and it almost ended our lives. And people need to know that these things are real, and they're still out there. People are telling, their experiences, and I hear, similarities. I've heard some recently. Some guy mentioned one about the raccoon hands, and that made me stop. And he mentioned a couple other things, and it was really crazy. And I had something happen to me. This is the first time I've ever going to share this. I've never shared this on any other show. About 3.5 weeks ago, almost a month, I had a dream that was the realest dream I've ever had in my life. Normally in your dream, when you think you're at home, it's not your home. I was at home. I was in my backyard. I heard something. We have woods behind our house. I heard something in the woods. I went to the woods, and I lost my right leg below the knee last April. I had some complications, health issues from surgeries, and I have a prosthetic. And I remember something attacked me from behind and threw me on the ground. And I saw what it was, and it was what I saw all those years ago. And it ripped off my pant leg, and it threw my prosthetic. What? My other friend refuses. Because in the end of the day, this channel's for entertainment. But let me tell you something.
Now he's saying he got
I will go to my grave. I'm giving you pertinent, personal information about myself and where I live and my family and the schools I went to and the area I grew up into. This happened. This was real. I have no reason to make myself look like a crazy person or just somebody looking for attention. This really happened. You can think I'm crazy if you want, but let me tell you something. You look at all of the instances of people are having more and more experiences these days, and because of media, we're hearing more about them, and you're getting more information out than ever. There's stuff going on. And I've heard some experiencers out there that it's cringeworthy, and it's obvious they're making it up. But I've heard stuff over the years, especially the last couple years. And when I talked to Josh Turner at Paranormal Roundtable, and he told me about his experience and what him and his cousin saw, it was almost exactly what I saw. And I had never met him before. I had never talked to Josh before until I told my experience. And I got the fear of God in me again. And right now I'm nervous. I have anxiety in my chest. I'm sweating. My shirt's starting to show it. I keep wiping sweat from me. I usually crack a tear or two. I'm surprised I haven't. There are things out there that people don't want to believe are real. There are. And I'm not trying to scare anybody. I'm just telling you this is what happened. If there was one person you can question, there were 4 of us. 4 of us, okay? 4. We all talked about it for years. 2 of my friends are gone. God rest their souls. And they had issues for years, and they started doing other things that ended their lives prematurely that I believe was because of what happened to us. My other friend refuses to discuss it. He has a very successful business. He thanks me all the time whenever we talk that I have the guts to talk about this. He's afraid to talk about it. He to this day has severe PTSD and doesn't even like to discuss it more than 5 minutes. It really happened. I don't know what else to say. I'm not going to make a fool of myself, in front of thousands of people, because a lot of people are going to see this. And I've done other shows and people have seen it. There's no reason for me to lie. And anybody that knows me personally that will see this, you know who I am. I'm not a liar. I'm not a crazy person. I'm not somebody that makes up fantastical stories. This happened, and it almost ended our lives. And people need to know that these things are real, and they're still out there. People are telling, their experiences, and I hear, similarities. I've heard some recently. Some guy mentioned one about the raccoon hands, and that made me stop. And he mentioned a couple other things, and it was really crazy. And I had something happen to me. This is the first time I've ever going to share this. I've never shared this on any other show. about 3.5 weeks ago, almost a month. I had a dream that was the realest dream I've ever had in my life. Normally in your dream, when you think you're at home, it's not your home. I was at home. I was in my backyard. I heard something. We have woods behind our house. I heard something in the woods. I went to the woods, and I lost my right leg below the knee last April. I had some complications, health issues from surgeries, and I have a prosthetic. And I remember something attacked me from behind and threw me on the ground. And I saw what it was, and it was what I saw all those years ago. And it ripped off my pant leg, and it threw my prosthetic into the woods. And then it got on top of me, and it crawled over top of me, and it was 100% the thing I saw when I was 14. And it crawled over me, and the eyes were glowing, and it was dripping saliva. It dripped in my mouth. And I mean, like, I've gagged telling people this story a couple times. I tasted it. I could smell it. It looked at me, and it did what I've heard people mention some cryptids do, which is mind speak, basically talking to you in your head. And it put its head maybe 2 inches from me, and it looked at me, and it started speaking to me in my mind. And it could have been just the ultra realistic dream, but I'm telling you, then it was the realest dream of my life. And it told me in my dream that I've been talking too much about it, that it's been looking for me for a long time, and it was there for me all those years ago, and that it will see me again someday. And then I woke up, and I was sweating. My puppy, her name's Hadley, was at the foot of my chair. I was soaking wet. She was standing there. She's normally never there. It was like 3:30 in the morning. She's always up in bed with my wife, and she's at the foot of my chair whining with her front paws on my legs, looking at me like, what's wrong? And I'm telling you, maybe it was just an ultra realistic dream, but I'm telling you, it was the realest dream I've ever had in my life. And it was 100% what I saw all those years ago. Maybe it's just,
I'm just trying to hear,
because I've told the story a few times. And I'm sorry, it's not a story. It's an experience. I have to designate those two, because there are stories out there, and they're just that, stories. This was an experience, and maybe because I had been talking about it recently. I met you for the first time at Josh's cryptid conference in Texas, and it's just, I met people there that had seen things, and I don't think it was a dream. It was too real. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't.
I don't know.
That's basically what has gone down. I've had some other things happen. I think I told you, I even sent you an audio clip. I had went to Beaver Creek State Park. If I didn't, I'll send it to you. I had went there for a Bigfoot conference a few months ago, which is in Ohio. The night before the conference, I had met a guy named Johnny Freeman, who's a psychic. You can look him up online. He's on Facebook. He came up to me. I'd never met the man in my life. He came up to me and told me I needed to go up this sketchy trail. Now, I had just had my left knee replaced. I have a prosthetic on my right leg. He tells me I need to go up this trail. There's supposedly a portal up at the top of this trail. And I looked at him, and first I'm like, he has his hand on my arm. I'm like, bro, slow your roll. I don't know who you are. What are you talking about? I can't just go up some trail. I've got half a leg. I just had my knee replaced. He said, I'm sorry. He says, I've never seen someone with an aura like you before. He says, you need to go up this trail. There's a reason. And I go up this trail. It took me probably 35, 40 minutes, and nothing visual happened. At the end of me being there talking out loud, I made an EVP. I'd never done an EVP before. I've seen all the ghost shows and everything. And I pulled out my phone and I started recording the app. And I basically had asked questions out loud, and this is online. You could go to Cryptid Creatures, which is another cryptid site where my buddy Todd Erie and Brian Brock interviewed me. They upped the sounds on this recording.
So you just carry.
And I'm not trying to plug somebody else there, Josh. Sorry.
No, you're good. Don't worry about it, buddy.
It's on there, and you can hear it, and you hear basically a grunt, which everybody I played it from Ron Moorhead, who is a legend in the Bigfoot community, to Martin Groves, who is a legend and is like a father to me, and I love the man. We've talked and sat down. He has, in my opinion, the most memorable, most insane experience of Dogmen and Bigfoot that you've ever heard, if you haven't heard it. We sat down at the conference where I met you, and we became very close, and we looked at each other with fear in our eyes because of the similarities to what we had both seen, and we had never met before. So, you know, you hear on this thing, you hear a grunt, you hear wood knocks. I didn't hear them with my own ears. You can hear them on this recording. Martin Groves will tell you about him and I, and about us meeting and the similarities, and it's not fake. So that's what's happened. I've had some crazy stuff connected with me through the years. I've always had a sensitivity to things. I've noticed details that most people don't over the years, and I freak my family out sometimes doing things. And I don't know, maybe it's just I'm sensitive like some people, and you know, there's that veil that break our world from the supernatural world, and I think some of us are just capable sometimes to see things that others can. I think that this thing broke through, like my priest told me. It bled through, and we just happened to be there. It did not like that we were there, and I think it tried to remove us. And that's what went down, and that's what I've gone through over the years, and things are still kind of happening on and off, and nothing of that severity, but definitely weird.
Wow.
There you go.
You took me through a roller coaster, man.
It's been crazy.
You know, so being at that conference, hearing Martin Groves' experience was utterly terrifying. You guys, I'd say, are like right around that. I've only ever heard, I guess, when I say a handful, I mean like less than 6. It's that, and you know me. Everyone knows what I do. My channel. I've gone through so. Man, and there's a lot of stories and accounts that never even made it to the channel that I've never talked to anybody about. Mm-hmm. But there is 3 in particular that are now yours being one of them, as far as one of the most emotionally taxing stories that I've ever endured, because of the it's not just how good you were able to tell it, but
I am not afraid. I was born to do this.
at the level of fear that I could feed off of.
You got a little pale there for a minute. I'll admit
it was genuine. Yeah, it honestly shook me. There's only a few stories that genuinely shook me. Martin's was another. And then there was another gentleman. Unfortunately, it wasn't a video. I didn't get to hear it in person, but you might know what I'm talking about. It's a gentleman who had an experience back in Kentucky. I want to say it was around the 80s too. Similar to yours. He had gone in with a couple of friends into, it was like an old flooded out hospital. I don't remember where in Kentucky it was. They were down in the basement where the old morgue was. And then this is just off my memory. He goes in one of the pull-out panels or something, or he's on something, and he hears something come in and go down the ladder, and he thinks it's his friends. Well, long story short, I can't give you the good version because I don't really remember. It's been a while. Anyway, this thing comes in and it chases him through the bottom part, and it's so much like you described. I mean, you could see the fear as you're reading that, like how he typed and explained. And long story short, he was able to make it out. This thing nearly chased after him. He runs across the street to some lady's house. He's frantic. He doesn't know what's going on. Anyway, and so there's a little. I'll have to send you the story because it's like, oh my gosh. And,
yeah, I've never heard it.
I don't know, man. I'm kind of like having to process like what I just endured to like begin to like, okay, let me start to dissect this and like understand like where do I even.
I'm nauseated right now. I'll be honest with you. I'm sick in my stomach. Yeah, it's not easy to tell it.
No, and like you said, this isn't a laughing matter. It's not for anything. Like, this is a genuine
not at
experience. All. Someone. Okay, so let me first start by asking. Okay, so you said that what time of night? What time of night would you say this was?
When we started the fire, I would say it was probably somewhere between 9:15, 9:30 at night, 9 p.m., 9:30. When we heard the dogs, I would probably say it was roughly maybe 20 to 10, quarter till, somewhere in that time frame.
Okay, so it's dark. It's
dark. Completely. Yeah, 100% dark.
So this thing climbs up there. And how could you maintain composure with something that resembles a werewolf from 20 feet away?
Again, it was
probably.
It was shock. It was complete fear, and we were frozen. And again, I repetitively say this. It was just that it was so. We were in shock, and it was, again, what I keep going back to was that thought of, this can't be really happening. It's so big, it's fake, that we have to be dreaming. This can't be real. And that's something that just kept constantly going through our mind and my mind. And they told me they also thought like they were dreaming. It just, how is this possible? What is this in front of us? And it just was this thought, constant thought that went through my head. It's fake. I'm going to wake up sometime. This is a dream. And then we never woke up. It really went down.
I know you described almost in vivid detail what its physical, the physical aesthetics of it. I'm going to backtrack real quick just for a second, go back to the 3 encounters that I mentioned. Now, the one I forgot, this is the 4th one, is the guy who shot, I'm talking about the guy who shot the Bigfoot or the Dogman through the truck?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah. What do you think about that encounter?
He told some similarities as well. It didn't sound quite as big as the one, I've heard, and you have too, stories of maybe alpha Bigfoot and things like that. I think this thing was like an alpha because it was just so long and massive and giant, and all the comparisons I've heard have been bigger than human, but not to that size.
Right.
And this thing just seemed abnormally even big from some of the things. I truly believe, from what I've learned and heard about most Sasquatch, the one that thing that we saw, I would put my money on that one. I really would. I don't think there's many things out there that could handle this thing. It was created for being from whoever, the devil, demons, whoever, as just the alpha predator. This thing was created for one thing, and it was to be a predator.
Have you seen any sort of werewolf depiction that can even closely resemble, other than the Van Helsing werewolf?
Yeah, you just touched on it right there. That's it.
That's what you saw.
The one that Hugh Jackman turned into specifically, because there's 2 in that movie. The one at the beginning, the one lady's brother turns into one that's kind of whitish gray colored. She asks him not to shoot it at the beginning of the movie. Don't shoot him. Don't shoot him.
I don't know if I remember that. It's been a long time, but we all remember.
There's one at the beginning.
Massive. The weightlifter, I would say.
Bettina, I did Bettina's show, and I told her too that when Hugh Jackman turned into the werewolf, the black one, that's the closest thing that I have seen that can compare. His was a little more human-like. This wasn't as human-like as that was. This was more something out of like a comic book or something. It was just the arms just so insanely long. Its fingers were reaching almost to its ankles. Its arms were just so long. It was just like freaky. That's one of the freakiest things for me, was in the hands, these black kind of just super long, like raccoon hands. It was freaky.
Have you seen? There's a Dogman depiction, and I want to say it's. Have you ever seen the Vic Cundiff Dogman and his thing?
I've seen some of them. I don't know which one you're referring to.
Yeah, let me pull up. It's the one. This guy right here. And so when you're mentioning arm length, that's kind of what I'm thinking of. What I envision.
Yeah.
There we go. Yeah.
Very similar. Yeah.
So I would imagine the what do you call the Hugh Jackman Dogman, but arms like that, just like over exaggerated hands and arms that are like
super long.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, that's a really good depiction. Yeah.
Were the eyes like that though, where you could see pupils and it was kind of like glowing?
They were. I can't really see it there, but they were just, Josh. They were so bright. Like I'm telling you, when it was walking around the building, even with the fire in there, when it like would turn its head towards the wall, you'd see the light from its eyes almost light up a little portion of area on the ground in the low part of the wall where it was. So it had some type of internal something going on there that caused those eyes to shine like that. It was not eye shine. No way.
You mentioned you were in the remnants of an old steel mill. And obviously we're talking about a building that is very dilapidated, very probably has pockets that are open, which you can kind of see through each floor, I would assume.
Yeah.
Yeah. So obviously parts of walls that were missing, which allowed you guys to kind of do what you did.
I don't know. I'm sure it was for the steel making process. Like in the very, very bottom, it had this tunnel. I didn't go in it because I was afraid I wouldn't be able to pull my big butt out of there. They went in it and they said it was super cold. It went the length of the building, maybe longer. I had to be filled with, you know, I would say smelting material or whatever, even the liquid metal at one point. But something I also didn't mention is there is a riverside park that's almost like a state park called Mill Creek Park that's just very close to that, miles away, that follows the Mahoning River that goes through the park, and the Mahoning River goes all the way down through the downtown area and through the steel mill area. That it could have easily been up in this Mill Creek Park and followed the water all the way through down to the steel mill area. Or it makes you wonder, you always hear about dogmen specifically being around like Indian burial mounds. Maybe there was a burial mound around there somewhere that they had built over, you know, I don't know, maybe. But Ohio is definitely one of those states that has a ton of burial mounds in it.
Yeah. I apologize because, like I said, your story had such an impact on me that I'm kind of like, when it comes to like, you know, when it comes to asking the really good questions, I'm like, okay, it's one of those things where I feel like you gave so much detail and really spilled out the story. I feel like this is more discussion versus like, well, what was this like? You know, because some people.
You're not the first to say that to me, and I think that's why I've happily.
Did you know you can AFK Bloods and Zaya whilst learning to code in Python? Go to boot.dev.
Looked at a lot of comments through the last year and a half, 2 years that I've talked about it, and I've never seen one yet where people have been like, "Yeah, right." Everybody has said, and I'm happy about the fact that I've given people a sense of believability, because you know I'm being 100% honest with everyone. I have no reason to lie, Josh. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. I've made friends with you. I appreciate that you and I have started a friendship. I have no reason to lie about this shit. This stuff really went down, man. And I hope I relay the believability, because I'm telling it from firsthand experience, and I'm giving my emotions in this, and I'm honest to God nauseated right now from telling that story again, because it brings me back.
How did you cope with this experience after?
You know, I went to my priest. Probably I asked my dad to take.
All right, chat. As far as I'm gonna go with this one. You know, y'all see what it is. Y'all can go watch it. I drop it down so y'all can see. Y'all want to finish watching it. Most terrifying interview he ever done. But yeah, I'm off that. Alright. story was crazy.
Tracks are my go-to source for insight into animals in the reserve. Species, number, mood. You can learn a lot about them before you've ever spotted anything.
got a short chance to speak to my dad about all this. He told me that while he always has my back, he plans to retire permanently from the warden position. He doesn't know what he's gonna do next, but he feels that his health problems stop him from doing the job properly. If I'm being honest, I always counted on him coming back. I told him that I felt like I was just keeping his seat warm. I think we both knew that his recovery was going too slowly for this to be a short-term thing. He seems confident that we've got this situation covered. More confident than I am, actually. We just need to keep pushing on. Let's find Baden and bring her home safely.
What's that noise? didn't even know that he was back to us. I thought he was facing us. Damn, that nigga's a 21-point fucking troll, man. Oh, he ain't no troll. He a 7. If he was an 8, then that would have been a troll. I don't know if there was anything around here. I already bopped it. I just shot that bear. It took off running. Sure. Alright, where are we supposed to be going over here? What are we supposed to be doing? Oh, that's my dog. Like I guess something funny.
Footprints. Look, that's definitely her gear. There's a yoga mat and everything. Is that a journal? Normally I wouldn't recommend this, but maybe we should see if she's written anything that can help.
Alright, hold on, dog. My dog tripping. Let me get him out the way. Don't chase him this way. Let me get me some quick kills.
That's a lot to take in. Did she say she heard noises from the tree line? Let's check it out. I'll be honest, I'm really worried about her now.
That's your bad. You ain't out here though. I'm out here. We gonna find it. We gonna find it. We can't, bro. Mellow out.
Those tracks are headed straight for where she was.
That's blood, man.
I can't believe it. We followed. We were so close. I need to tell the police. I should... Okay, first things first. I need to get it together.
Yeah, you do.
How you doing? Are you okay? I'm sorry that you're having to deal with this firsthand. I need to deal with this. There hasn't been a death in the reserve for almost a decade. I'm gonna call my dad, so he can talk me through the next steps.
Alright, well, we're gonna go see what was up with this tiger. This mountain lion, I mean.
Before I start making arrangements, there's something I'd like you to do for me. If you think you're up to it. In her journal, Baden mentions winning the trip out here. In all this drama, I forgot that she wasn't just here with the retreat. She was planning on staying a little longer at one of our outposts. There was something strange about the booking. I'm gonna make some calls now, but I'd like you to go to the outpost she was going to stay at. I have an uneasy feeling about why she was here. I can't quite explain it, but I don't think it was her idea to come here.
the f- He didn't drop. Just finna say. Yeah, again. Oh, that was a good shot. Where you go? I knew I heard something. I thought it was my dog at first, but I'm like, no, that ain't my dog. Man, I ain't get the vital. Still another bear kid. Forget about that lion. That mountain lion probably out of there now. Yeah, let's continue getting these story mode over with. I feel like if I do the story mode and get it over with, then my grade won't spawn. That's just how I feel. I could be wrong.
Hey, got an update for you.
Uh-huh.
I was speaking with the deputy about Bodden.
Right.
And she's gonna send an officer up to secure the scene, take pictures, etc.
Word.
Do you remember the truck that we spotted leaving the reserve just before we locked it down?
Yeah, no, I ain't
Well,
seen that.
the deputy had some news. Turns out that the truck was stolen from a college campus in Denver just a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, them boys gangsters.
It gets stranger. The sheriff just got a call from a patrolman in the next county over. The truck has been found on fire, abandoned in the middle of nowhere. It was an anonymous tip-off. I'm not an expert, but I bet that truck was the escape vehicle for our culprits. I'll let you know if the police find anything new.
I don't really care. That ain't really none of my business. I'm not a hunch. We got birds over here chirping. Get on their back. Footprints and shit, where they at? Make sure I got my land. Oh, this is where I'll be at. There's some bird over here. Our bees in this trap. Where you at though? Why you hide? Come outside. We got him now, puppy. We got him now, puppy. We got him now, puppy. Oh, that's a 3. I knew it was gonna be some bull. It's cool. He's still gonna get caught. Southside chill, bro. Man. Ooh, I did hit him. Nah, I'm vital. That's bad. Patched him, but didn't get him though. Hopefully it's so rare. Yeah, it's supposed to be over here anyway. They stay around this road though. Hello, my dear, and it is a rare. It is. Oh, is it? It's a rare. It's a rare. Well, come save your people then. Come on. It's a rare. Yes. 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 Yes, sir. That bitch a rarer. I just miss hitting a vital too. Sucks. This nail been getting away from us a lot. We finna find this one. I told you they stay by these roads, bro. They be on these roads. Man, why is he fleeing? I ain't even close enough. Come on, man. Yep, this that same six that keep running from us, bro. This nigga keep running from us. That man keep getting away too. That man keep evading us. He got away this time. Shit, he got away like 10 times. I ain't gonna lie.
I need you to look for any signs that she came here with an agenda that might tie into the problems we're having. Be respectful, though. Didn't we already find Boden's phone in the woods? Ghost Town and dig site? No. I don't believe it. Her luggage. I guess it's just clothes and things. No need to open it up. That's the gear from the dig site, isn't it? Look, there's the rock saw. Did they take the blade off for safety, maybe? There's a rifle in there, too? No hunter's leaving something like that lying around. I'll be honest with you. I'm struggling to keep myself under control. Not only has someone been terrorizing the reserve, but they plan to pin it on someone else. You know, my dad said that there's a spiritual reason for what's going on. What I believe is that people have tried to hurt us, and innocents are getting caught in the middle.
Trying to play with us. What rifle we just found, though, is what I'm saying.
And the worst thing is that I have no idea who's behind it.
Why they locked? Unlocked by completing missions in Terror.
Composure. That's what we need now, right? We got a response from APAR. They are denying all connections to what's happening here. They say that while they have sadly been forced to euthanize animals in the past, none of their operations would ever condone the sorts of animal mistreatment that were reported. This never seemed like their MO to begin with. They kill shelter animals because they feel it's more humane than the alternative. They don't come out here to do it. Oh, and to make things even worse, I keep getting voicemails from Bobby Joe Jefferson asking me to call him back. We were able to trace the payment for Boden's accommodation. You ready for this? It came from a Green Enterprises. The company was dissolved 3 days ago. Seems like the person behind Boden's choice to come here was also the one who gave the go-ahead to rip up our railway. That's it. I've had enough from Bobby Joe. I'm gonna call him back and tell him that it's not the time. Give me a minute.
Until then, hey chat, I'm finna reset my perks. I got 421. When I get to 500K, which ain't gonna take long, I'm gonna reset my perks so I can scan and get see everything.
I have a job for you. I'm sending you details of a spot I want you to visit, but I need to deal with something just now. I'll call you back once I'm done.
All these, so I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I got 5 towers on there. 6. Wait. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 towers on here. Cool. Alright.
can't believe I'm about to say this, but Bobby Joe may have solved the case. Do you recall the uranium mine that he was camped beside? It turns out that he was camping there because he was convinced that it was hosting some government conspiracy. Well, it turns out that someone had been up to visit the site on more than one occasion. The last time they visited, they came with a truck. Bobby was suspicious, so he tailed the truck as it moved around the reserve. Just before they left the reserve, Bobby lost sight of it as it disappeared into the woods. Before Bobby could figure out where it had gone, the truck returned to the road and drove out of the reserve. Bobby kept tailing them. Once they were out of the county, the driver jumped out, grabbed a jerry can from the back, and doused the truck in gasoline before setting it on fire. Bobby swears to me that the guy who got out of the truck is William Simpkins Jr. Shortly afterwards, he was picked up by someone in a car that matches the description of Junior's best friend. You remember the old chairman I told you about? That's William Simpkins Sr. This is his son. I went to school with him after he got himself kicked out of his fancy prep school. Junior was pretty horrible to everyone at school, but he was especially nasty to Bobby. I won't go into details, but I wouldn't be surprised if Bobby holds a grudge. The spot I'm sending you to is the place where Bobby says the truck took a detour before leaving the reserve. The driver desperately needed to get out of here. So why take a detour? Unless it was absolutely essential.
This is too far to run. I ain't gonna even care. And I'm going the wrong way. Oh, shit. I am tripping. Damn, I can't fast travel here. What the fuck? Ugh. y'all this road be having plenty mountain lions by it for some reason. Road be mountain lioned up. Man, I needed him. I ain't even scare him off with that fucking mountain lion did. Where the mountain lion at? Good question. 12. GTA. Let's get you right, cause you running around like you tripping right now. Let's get you together. Pull my other dog out, shit. I need to get this retriever shit up. Come on, stay with me, bro. What shit cost to redo your shit? I don't even really need no money from that. I bought everything I need. With this bear grind, I'm making bread quick. I should have been close to a meal already. Just been spending about 1,000,000 bullets. I mean 1,000 bullets. You feel me? Damn. They went past flying. both of y'all. Yeah, I knew it. Y'all 300 though. I knew it.
There's the break in the trees. There should be some tracks for you to follow.